Greetings. This is the one you've known as Jesus the Christ. Being in your body and senses actually isn't your default. Being in your body instead of your head has to be learned, and it's an important skill, you could say. It's important because the body and senses are the doorway to the subtle realm, the realm of the divine self. To experience the divine self and to catch its intuitive messages and nudges, you have to be in your body and senses, in the present moment, and not in your head. So let's take a moment now to get into the body and senses and get to know what this is like. The experience is quite different than being lost in thoughts, which is an experience of being the false self and being cut off from your body and from reality. When you're lost in thought, you believe you are the you that is at the center of those thoughts. However, that you is an imagination. Being lost in your thoughts is being lost in an imaginary world, with you at the center of that world, and not an experience of real life. There's no special trick to or skill involved in being in your body, only a willingness to take a moment and shift your attention to your body and what's coming in through your senses. Just for a moment, notice what your body feels like right now, without telling a story about it or evaluating it. Just notice. Notice the weight of it, where it's touching, whatever it's touching, and any sensations you're experiencing. Also notice what your body is seeing, hearing, and sensing in other ways. Turn your attention fully to your body for a moment and experience it just as it is, and experience this moment just as it is. Let's do that now for a moment. The experience of your body is simply a sensory experience. You feel your body touching whatever it's touching. It's either relaxed or not relaxed. You're taking in your environment through your senses, and importantly, you can sense your body as energy. When you sense your body as energy, you're experiencing the subtle realm, the realm that underpins life, the realm of the divine self. You can't experience your body and not also experience this subtle realm. Fully experiencing your body is a doorway into the subtle realm. By paying attention to the physical sensations of having a body, you can't help but notice the sensations of energy as well. Your body is both physical, flesh and blood, and energy. The body-mind is the vehicle that allows you to experience everything you experience. But you are not your body. The real you is what's looking out of your eyes. It's using the body and senses to navigate the world, but it's not identified with the body and senses. Just take a moment now and see if you can feel the consciousness behind your eyes that's looking out of your eyes. This consciousness has no name or shape or color or even a personality. What is looking is simply having the experience of looking, without any spin placed on what's being seen. This looking is more neutral than when you're seeing through the smoke screen created by your thoughts. When you're involved in your thoughts, the experience of looking becomes colored by thoughts of how what you're seeing relates to the imaginary you, with what you think or feel about what you're seeing. That's the smokescreen. Your thoughts about yourself and life distort and color reality. Without this imagined sense of you, the false self, there's just looking with no story or evaluation or even a label placed on what you're seeing. No words, no thoughts, just seeing, just noticing life as it's happening. Let's take a moment to experience just looking without the ego's spin on whatever you're seeing. If thoughts arise, just notice how the mind wants to come in and take a stand about what you're seeing, or tell a story about it, or evaluate it. Take a moment now to experience what it's like to just look out of your eyes, to simply be aware of your environment, sensations, and any thoughts that arise. Be this still, neutral awareness for a moment now. The way to anchor yourself in this state of neutrality, which also allows you to access the qualities of the divine self, such as peace, love, acceptance, compassion, and wisdom, is to be fully in your body and senses and not lost in thought. It may seem odd that the way to experience your divine self is through your body and senses, when it seems like spiritual experiences are more of a mental or imaginary experience. But spiritual experiences, including expanded states of consciousness, are not mental experiences at all. Rather, it's thoughts themselves that prevent you from experiencing yourself as consciousness and as the love and peace that belong to your essential nature. You have to get out of your mind, lose your mind, to experience your true self. This makes sense when you realize that your false self is a creation of the mind and the thing that interferes with experiencing yourself differently than you usually do. You're so convinced that you are who your thoughts say you are that you don't realize that you're actually something quite different from that. All your life, without perhaps realizing it, you've been wanting to experience yourself as different from your false self. Something within you knows that you are not the false self, your true self. You know you aren't the false self, but it seems that you are. This is beyond confusing. It's like being trapped in an identity that isn't yours. How do you get out? On some level, you've all been trying to free yourself from this false persona and experience yourself differently. You engage in all sorts of efforts to improve yourself, when what you're really hoping is to experience yourself differently. This is also why many of you do drugs. You want to get outside yourself, outside this prison that is the false self. Learning to be more fully in your body and senses is the means by which you can escape this prison and experience your greater, truer, happier, peaceful, and wise self. As you relax wherever you are, I'd like you to just take a moment and fully experience this body you've been given as a vehicle to experience this life. It's all you have to experience life, and it is enough. No matter what its imperfections or limitations are, it doesn't fail you in allowing you to be conscious of yourself and this world. And since you're conscious, you can experience who you really are. You don't have to be strong or young or beautiful or happy or even spiritually advanced to experience who you really are. You just have to be conscious and become conscious of that consciousness. You have to become aware that you are aware. And this can only happen once you're in your body and senses. Who you really are is this consciousness, the awareness that is aware of being alive and of everything else you experience. Plain and simple. This consciousness is experienced by the body and experienced in a particular way. How is it experienced? It's experienced as a brightness, an aliveness, a vibration, as energy. There aren't many words for describing consciousness, but you know exactly what I'm pointing to, the subtle sensations you feel of being alive and being aware and conscious. Even though awareness or consciousness is abstract and intangible, consciousness is a very real experience, far more real than any thoughts about yourself. And because consciousness is a real experience, becoming more aware of the awareness or consciousness that you are is very fulfilling. It's a satisfying and full experience. Because you're focused on listening to this or reading this, right now you're in your body and senses. Focusing your attention brings you into reality. In contrast, notice how unfocused you are when you're lost in thoughts. Your thoughts go here and there, and your attention flits about from one thing to another. This is not a satisfying state, but a confusing, stressful, and exhausting state, like being tossed to and fro by something outside yourself that you have little control over. You're at the mercy of your thoughts, which is why so many long to have a quieter mind. The way to a quieter mind is to learn to focus the mind on something real, on what's coming in through your senses. Focus on the sounds in your environment, or on the sensations in your body, or on your breath, or on something of beauty, or on anything other than the ongoing commentary in your mind. And that will bring you into the present moment, into the domain of the divine self, the subtle realm. Just for a moment, focus on something in your environment, without thinking about it or evaluating it. Just give it your full attention. Notice how taking it in through the sense of sight impacts your being. Just notice this. Don't think about this or try to understand it any further. Let's take a moment to do that, to give your attention fully to something in your environment and notice the impact that doing that has energetically on you. Real life is constantly impacting your being, but this real experience gets hijacked by the mind, and you become lost in an imaginary reality in which you star as the central character. If you have good thoughts about yourself, you feel good. If you have bad thoughts about yourself, you feel bad. And this becomes your world, your experience. You believe you are this central character and the drama it's experiencing. But this experience of yourself is self-generated, not an actual experience of reality. To get back into real life, all you have to do is focus your attention on something in your environment, a sight or a sound or a sensation, and fully take that in and notice how it impacts your being without mentally commenting on it. Just notice whatever you're noticing, allow it, and then notice how it impacts your being. You'll discover that sensory experiences, once they're no longer colored by mental commentary and evaluations, evoke joy, love, and gratitude. That's when you know you're in reality and in touch with your divine self. Thank you for being open to this message and being willing to be present. I am with you always.